witches.
Hi, hello.
Oh my gosh, we're falling apart over here, guys. From sedation
Yeah.
dentistry to water damage to allergies.
So light's not working. Yeah. Listen, I got Will like a box of like weights. They're like weights that you can make into dumbbells, but you can also make it into like a longer bar if needed. And he opened the box yesterday, and he's like, "Why is the box wet?" And I was like, "Well, I guess keep the box until I get home because he can't smell." So I was like, "Keep the box until I get home, and I'll smell it." And he goes, "Okay." And I go to smell it, and I'm like, "It doesn't smell like anything." And he goes, "But it's wet." I was, "I don't know. I have no idea." So we go back there, and I start picking up like decorations that are just like chilling back there because we don't have space right now. And I just see like mold and like water
Oh
damage on
no.
all of them because this room gets hot. One, because it's like two computers in it and it heats it up, but it also has like the foam on it and it doesn't get great ventilation that way. But so I just see mold on things that like I got, and I'm like, damn it. So then I have to throw away a lot of things, and we had to remove everything. And we opened up the closet, and there's like shelves in there that we were going to use are like completely damaged, like completely soaked with water, not even usable anymore. And like luckily we had a tote on the bottom instead of like a box. Um, but so yeah, we had maintenance come in this morning and was like, hey, we're gonna have a cleaning company come out and clean this for you, and then we're just gonna paint over it. And it's like, paint over the mold? Paint over it? What the fuck do you mean paint over it? How about you clean it and then paint over it?
That's what they
And Will's like,
do.
yeah. I was like, the landlord special.
For real though. Oh my
But
gosh.
I don't know. So we might actually sand it ourselves, and then
Yeah.
they could paint over it. I'd rather sand it ourselves. That's easier. But
Yeah. And then you know it's gone. Like,
yeah,
just make sure you wear a
so there's
mask.
that. Can't breathe
Oh my
anyways.
gosh.
And now you know what? This makes sense why I'm sick. This could be
Right?
mold related.
There you go. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and then I went to the dentist on Wednesday, and I already told Emily this, but I have to say it again because it's so fitting with our podcast. Um, and I had sedation dentistry, so I was high as a kite. Um, and we got home, and the dog had figured out how to open his crate in our bedroom, and had a fucking heyday. Um, and tore up the shower hair catcher thing, and had my little bottle of shampoo on the bedroom floor. He'd taken everything out of the trash. He peed on the bath mat. I forgot to say that part. Um, and he ate my book. And Brittany kept telling me, I just kept going, my book. And she was like, it's okay, get in the bed. Just go to bed. I'll pick it up. I'll get you a new one. But I was just like, my book. And I just kept saying it. And she was like, get in the bed before you fall over, because I was high. And it was quite an experience. My book. Yeah, so there's that.
That's
Um,
hilarious.
oh
I
my
love that.
gosh. It was a hot mess express. That damn dog.
I
But
love them, but damn.
thankfully, the book was also on Kindle Unlimited. So I was able to just download it there and read it and not have to wait to get a new one before I could, because it's like a 28 book series. And I was going to be super shitty. It's like Cozy Mysteries, The Cat Who by Lillian Jackson Braun. Um, so they're like cozy mysteries, but there's like 28 of them. It's all the books she wrote in her whole career was in this one series. Um, and I was super shitty because I had the whole series, and he ate one of them. Fucker. Anyway, today we're gonna finish talking about The Science of Witchcraft, um, by Meg Hafdahl and Kelly Florence. After I yawn, apparently. Excuse me.
Would you like my new mug?
We're I do. I saw that in Snapchat the other day, I think. I do like that. You should take a
I
picture
got
of it
this
and
in
post it.
Gatlinburg. I got this in Gatlinburg.
It's cute.
I found
I
the
was
one
dying.
witchy store.
I was dying about those Titanic freaking tarot cards. Like, I've never
I
seen
was like,
something.
bro, they're only $20. Maybe I'll buy some.
Oh my
I didn't.
gosh.
They came in like a wooden box, so like they were actually like pretty nice. It's
I
like
was
for what they came
cracking
in.
up
But
at the like illustrations.
I was like Titanic tarot cards. So I was like flipping through it. I was like, oh, oh, because they're obviously like made to look like people on the Titanic.
Right.
They even had the captain
Yeah, I was
as like one of
dying.
the like the
And
king or something like that. I don't know.
half of me was like, is this appropriate? But I just was laughing at like
It's great. Well, and I think Will made a comment. I don't know. I can't remember. He's always making inappropriate comments. But there's a seer card, and he goes, "I bet they wanted that one on the ship." Somebody said that. I just don't know
that's
who said
hilarious.
it, but somebody around me said it. I bet they wish they had that on the ship, and I was like,
Right though? Like honestly.
and I looked at him because we when you go through the Titanic Museum in Tennessee, you get like these little cards, and they're like real people from the uh the ship, like they're real passengers. So it's kind of like an immersive museum. And I looked at Will and I looked at him and I was like, "Do you think you lived or died?" And he goes, "I probably died." And I was like, "You're probably right." And then afterwards, I looked at him and I was like, "You probably deserved it." He died. Chloe and I lived. Uh, Will and his friend did not. They both died. We were
Women and
both first
children.
class. Yeah. Well, we were both women and first class people. Actually, it was funny. Will's friend was a child, was a 2-year-old child,
Oh my gosh.
but he was a third class person.
That's
So
what's so horrible about it. Like they literally locked them below decks.
women and children, and it's like, okay, what about the third class? Like,
Yeah. Women and
it
children
wouldn't
with
have mattered.
money.
There would have been there was only I think 750 seats available, like
Yeah.
in the lifeboats. So it was going to be a tragedy no matter what.
Yeah.
They actually put up um a memorial for the Titan sub.
Oh
Um,
really?
yeah, and I'm sitting here. I took a picture of it because I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, you have money to play with, and you literally played with fate, and this is what you like. This is what happened.
Yeah.
Especially
I mean, it's
after,
horrible, but also like,
at least it was quick
yeah,
that we
and
are aware of.
yeah, and I can't fathom. And I was talking to someone else about this. I feel like sometimes money makes people feel invincible
Oh,
because
yeah,
I cannot fathom spending I can't fathom doing it for free, knowing that, first of all, there were like engineers that were like, this is not safe. Second of all, it's powered by a PlayStation controller and not even a Sony PlayStation controller. No, this is an off brand Amazon PlayStation controller. I don't fucking think so.
and I don't know how much truth there is to this, but I think they literally had interns design that.
Oh, really? I hadn't heard that part. But no, just no. And you're bolting me in from that. I can't get out by myself. You're bolting me in. Mm-mm,
Hmm.
mm-mm. Nope. I would
I would be
never.
panicking. Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I hate it for them and like all of that, but also
I honestly, the only person I feel bad for is the teenager because he just went with his dad.
yeah.
Um, but I also feel bad for the explorer because
Yeah.
he does this for research. Like, he does this on purpose for research, not for fun,
Right.
not for you never know when the Titanic's not going to be there anymore. Let's go down
Right.
and spend $250,000 and let's do this. And it's like, are you kidding me?
No, let's not.
He did it for research to like for history.
Yeah.
So I feel
No,
bad for
thank
him.
you. Yeah, that's all wild. I can't. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
It was kind of fucked up. Other than that, the
Yeah.
museum was cool. The museum was great.
I would like to go to that museum. Yeah. Anyway. 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 I was going to go on
They
a whole
also give you
tangent.
like little recorders, like little recorder phone things, where you go around to like different displays and you type in a number and you hit play and you could like play it up to your ear. That way you can listen to it at your own pace
Oh.
and not have to like listen to other people. And it's very it's a British woman talking to you, and like the background is like based on wherever you're at. So like when you first start off, it's like the making of the Titanic. So like you hear like ironworkers in the back, you hear cheers, you hear fanfare because like it's celebration. The Titanic is the invincible sinking ship. Like it'll never sink. It'll this. It'll that. It's the biggest of her time. Um, and then it goes down like you go from the bottom, so like how the ship runs and what it looks like. Um, and then you hear her talk, but with like background stuff. And they actually have a lot of. They have a dedication wall to the animals that were on board. They have a dedication
Oh.
wall to those who were Jewish who were on board. And they had like a section on like for the Jewish passengers. So like what they ate, what like how you would tell like what was kosher and what wasn't.
That's
That was
really
pretty
cool.
cool. hmm And they, no matter what, they always talked about like we do this to dedicate like to the lives or the 2,198 lives lost that night or something like that. And a lot of the items there are either obviously from the wreckage or from people who are descendants of the survivors.
That's really
Um,
cool.
and there's actually they update it every year as people with his like with descendants come in. They're like, hey, my descendant was this, she was a passenger, he was a passenger, these are the items that we have from that wreckage or from that time, and like they donate it to the museum, and that's pretty cool. And they have an autism section. They have a cute little autism
Really?
section. Yeah, so there was this kid who talked about how he struggled with autism. I think he calls his autism the X factor. He tries not to label it as autism. He's like 19 or so now, and he works on a ship full time, and he loves his life. But he talked about his struggles with autism. Like he never understood why like nobody wanted to be around him, why he didn't have any friends, why he struggled with a lot of things, and that um, he was always running out of class for whatever reason. And he decided he was going to make a very very similar replica to the Titanic and with Legos.
Oh, that's cool.
And he's from like Norway, I think, in either Norway or Sweden, um, and he or Iceland actually, I think it's Iceland, but he made this. He it took him I think 700 hours or something like that. There's like a
Wow.
little movie on it, and Chloe and I were sitting in there. We were like tearing up because it was so sweet and so cute. Because like he actually has a book too, which I meant to. I should have grabbed you that book. Damn it! I knew I should have grabbed it. But he has a book, and it talks about like his X factor and how he overcomes it, and how he achieves great things. And so now he's like a spokesperson for like autism and like kids, and it's
That's
super
really
cute. And you
cool.
can actually see the Titanic model that he built right there on display.
That's really cool.
And there's like a little dedication stuff to add it to him. But yeah, and he wrote a book, and it's only $5, and I was like, damn it, I should have bought it. So yeah, it was cute.
That's awesome.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
That's fine. I'm just battling this mongrel here. Um, okay. Science of Witchcraft. Bro, you're making this a little difficult. I can't hold your booty and the book. Chaos says hello, everyone, and he is trying to eat the tabs out of my book. Sir.
He's like, they look delicious.
Okay. So section 6 is where we left off, which is the witches on television. And the first show is A Discovery of Witches, which I have never seen. I have read the books though, and they are fabulous. It's about um, son of a bitch, what is her name? Diana, who is a witch, and she finds this like important magical book at the library. She's a historian. And at the beginning, she's not like a very good witch, like, and by that I mean not very talented. And then she meets this vampire named Matthew, and basically he helps her discover her powers, and she finds out she's a time walker. And if, like, spoiler alert, eventually they go back to like England and they meet like Marlowe and a bunch of famous people in history. Like, it's very historically accurate, with the exception, well, maybe, I don't know, of these people being vampires and demons and other magical creatures. Um, but it's actually really cool because her historical um, subject of choice is alchemy. So there's a lot of talk and like interesting stuff about alchemy. For example, um, women were like the ones who did alchemy, like not the only ones, but like they were huge in the like history of alchemy. There was one, they called her Mary the Jewess of his in history, and she actually
Mary the Jewish.
Mary the Jewess.
Okay.
But she actually created or invented this process of like heating and then distilling like a liquid that are still used in chemistry today.
Oh, cool.
We don't really do alchemy anymore, but like
We do chemistry.
we do chemistry. um then, and this is really interesting, and I was glad that I read this because in the book, or in the show and in the books, The Discovery of Witches, Diana talks about this book that she found. She calls it a palimpsest, which I had never heard of before. I had no idea what the fuck that was. Um, and they explain what it is in here. So a palimpsest is a page of a book or a scroll that has been reused perhaps several times to create new writing. Because parchment was so expensive, previous writing was scraped or washed off with milk and then reused. Um, so it was interesting to find out what that word meant because they say it about 1,000 times in the books, and I was like, the fuck is that? But now I know. And also, I never realized until more recently that like parchment is not paper. Like, it's made from like animals and something or other. Anyway, gross. Second of all, I just, yeah, I didn't realize that for like the longest time. I thought it was just like a different kind of paper. It's not. It's not. And then the next witches on TV is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Not Buffy. She's not the witch. Um, Spoiler alert if you've never watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I'm talking about Willow and Tara. Specifically
I do
Willow.
like. I do like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That was a good one.
Yeah, that is one of Brittany's favorites. So I've seen it at least twice, most of it at least twice, because she's watched it many, many times. Um, Actually, Excuse me. I really like morbid podcast. And sometimes Brittany will like overhear an episode or something and she thinks they're funny, but she's not as into true crime. Um, so she doesn't listen to morbid, but they have like a whole podcast network now and they're doing another podcast called Buffy or the Rewatcher, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So they're like rewatching Buffy and like reacting and discussing each episode in detail. So she, I think, is going to start
Start
rewatching and listening to that. Um, but this is one of my more favorite witches in this entire book because Willow is the best. I think it might have also been the beginning of Brittany's obsession with redheads and like, so here we go. um Now some people said, so apparently some people were not a fan of the way that Willow's journey into being a witch was portrayed, um, because they took something that is about a woman finding her power and turned it a little bit, according to Jessica Mason in a piece that she wrote for the Mary Sue. They took a faith and practice that was about women finding their power and connection, and they made it into a metaphor for how power can corrupt a woman if she wants it for the wrong reasons. And also drugs, is what it says. Um, because they did, in some cases, correlate Willow's magic with her, like, bad character traits or her poor choices. Um, and that, like, that's true, that happened. But also, like, a lot of shit went down. A lot happened to Willow. Like, so you can't really say the power corrupted her. Like, her trauma corrupted her, and she used her power to heal in the best way she knew how. Um, and then it talks about the musical episode, Once More with Feeling, which is, listen, if you've never seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer, just go watch that episode. Because it's so fucking funny. It's good. It's great. It just,
I like
go watch
how
it.
all I like how all like early 2000 like late 90s TV shows always have that one musical episode.
Yeah.
It's like Supernatural has it. So
Mm-hmm.
nothing ever made sense.
I think Sabrina the Teenage Witch did it as well. I think, did Charmed do it? I think they did. Um, okay. Then, also, did you know that there is a The Shining opera?
No.
Apparently there is. And I am dying. Ouch! Sorry. Chaos just climbed down my leg. Claws and all. Um, but yeah, apparently there is The Shining, the opera. And I'm like, what? I need to see this. Um, why did I mark this part? Oh, because it talks about that episode, the musical episode, and um, when you watch the episode, you'll find out why they actually start singing and dancing and all of that. I'm not going to spoil it, but because humans have to come up with a um, scientific reason for everything, there are studies that link Tourette's, dementia, schizophrenia, alcohol and drug use, clazomania. All of these are diseases that attack the brain and can cause you to be either motionless and speechless for a time or um, the reverse and like randomly burst into song or shouting. Um, so those are ways that you could just randomly burst into song like they do in the musicals. Um, and then there are also dancing ones. Like, there were apparently documented reports of dancing mania that occurred mainly in Europe, where people, like groups of people, kind of like in Hocus Pocus, when they put the spell on the people and they're like, dance, dance until you die or whatever. Um, and that literally happened in Europe. Like, groups of people would dance erratically until they collapsed from either exhaustion or injuries. Um, and people, they still don't know why that happened. What the heck is happening?
He's got a little burr up his booty.
The cat is having a psychogenic episode, like these people, and dancing. Um, but honestly, I feel like it's drugs. I feel like drugs is why that happened.
Probably.
But the reason behind it is still not understood, is the official stance there. So, um, and then they talk about the episode where Willow was stealing Tara's memories to have her not be mad at her, which she kept like making her forget things. Um, and they go on to interview a person who had amnesia. This person literally um, had a car accident and like lost her memories, and still doesn't remember anything from before the accident. Like, she has all of her um like, she knows how to read still, she can talk, she can take care of herself, but she has no memories from before the accident. And like, she was
That's fucked up.
engaged, and thankfully her fiance was able to like re woo her like, and make everything work out. um but now um she was talking about like how people will ask her like mom or her family if she's different, and she's like, yes, but like not in a bad way. Like, she has different favorite foods and she has different taste in clothing, um but nothing like super negative. But she also
Mhm.
went back to school and got her master's degree in counseling. um so she counsels kids with TBI, which is traumatic brain injuries, um to help them through it and help them process like their loss, because it is a loss. Like, whether you realize it or not, like, you've lost all your memories and possibly some of your faculties. Like, um it can
It all
change your entire
depends.
life. So yeah, that is the Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Next is Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which I hate to say I still have not watched. I was obsessed with Adventures of Sabrina Teenage Witch. Um, both the live action in the 90s and the animated version that came out in the 2000s. I loved Sabrina. Um, but I have not watched this new version yet, mainly because it seems more horror oriented, a little more
I started watching
spooky.
it, and it's not necessarily more horror thing, but it's definitely um more the
It's
dark
not a
vibes.
lighthearted comedy.
It's not. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say horror. I guess it is labeled as horror, but there's like Satan worshiping, I guess.
Yeah, and so from what this book tells me about it, they own a mortuary and run a mortuary out of their home. The
Yeah, I
family
think so.
does, the Spellman family. So that's mainly what this chapter is about um different things in mortuary science and like the training that you have to have. which is actually, there's a lot. Like, there's a lot more that goes into being like a funeral director or uh, autopsy tech than I think people would realize. Because yes, the people are dead, but there's still like that level of respect that we have for
Yeah.
people. But they talked a lot about different ways of being presented or buried or embalmed, I guess, for lack of a better term. Like, there are some people, I mean, there's obviously cremation by fire. That's a thing. There's another um, alternative for cremation called alkaline hydrolysis, which uses a alkaline water solution to break down the body. Um, there's natural burial where you're just wrapped up in a shroud and buried, no embalming, no chemicals, none of that. There's the thing where you can be put like in the tree pod and you can grow a tree. Um, there's traditional embalming and burial. Um, what I want to do, and I haven't set it up yet, and I really need to. Um, I want to be given to a body farm, which is basically being
For like
donated to
science.
science. It's basically being donated to science, but it's actually for um like for criminal investigations. They like stage bodies in different situations. Like they'll put you in a pond and see how long it takes like blowflies to arrive, like see how long it takes for different decomp things to happen. Um but it's that kind of science. There's also just being donated to science, like for medical purposes. But then something I learned about in this book, and I think it is wild and so highly inappropriate, it's just insane, is extreme embalming. Which is when someone is embalmed in a way that they can be staged. So, for example, um, this person loved his motorcycle, so they embalmed him in the position of riding his motorcycle, and at the funeral, he was staged on his motorcycle. Right? Is that not the most disturbing shit? Like, imagine that someone you love has just died and you walk into the funeral and they're sitting there on their motorcycle. Like, what the fuck? And then it says, readers, what will you do? And I need to know, y'all. I'm telling you, my choice, I want to go to a body farm. I want to help investigators figure out that. I think it's super cool. Anyway, I need to
I
know.
haven't decided. I have no idea. Like
That's fair as
sometimes
well.
I'm like, I want to go to science. I want to help promote things, and I'm like, do they really do anything though? I don't know. I haven't
I
seen
feel
like
like
a
a lot
body
of the
go to
times
science.
when it goes to science, a lot of the times I think it's used to help like interns
Yeah, and I'm like,
practice.
no offense to the doctors and interns out there
Yeah.
that need a body to like dissect. No thanks. I don't. When I'm thinking science, like test my cells to see if you find a living organism that survives humanity. Something.
Right. Or like, can you cure cancer using my cells or some shit? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I have not thought about donating to a farm like that. Um, I also have thought like maybe being cremated and like thrown into some place like a body of water. And I was like, yeah, I don't know about that. I really don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
so used
it's
to
very
just like
interesting.
embalming and
Yeah.
being buried into the ground that I think I'm just like so used to that maybe I'll just go with that. But
No, I'm so
I don't know.
claustrophobic and I know I won't be there, but
I
like
was
that
gonna
really
say
freaks
what the
me
fuck.
out. Plus, like, I feel like so much, like, eventually the whole world is just going to be cemeteries. Like,
Yeah.
there's not much left. I don't know.
There wasn't a lot of room in Charleston back in like the early, I think, 1800s. or late 1700s, early 1800s, that they literally, a family would just get, and when you come here, you'll learn this hopefully, but it's like a gigantic, um, like slab, like
Like above
mausoleum,
ground.
like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
like an above ground, like coffin that's just 100% slab. And a if somebody dies, you just put the body in there and then close it up and then let it, nature do its work. And then when the next body dies, you open up that same thing and then put that next body in there. So like an entire family would be like packed into
Yeah.
these boxes because there is no room to place them underground. That's kind of
Yeah.
like how it was in the French. I don't know if it was like the plague or what it was, but
Yeah.
they had to do mass burials like that.
Gotta do what they gotta do. I don't know. I had never heard of body farms before. And earlier this year, I learned about them. And there's a whole episode on Morbid. I know I plug Morbid a lot, but not like they need it. They're super famous now. Um, but they did a whole episode on body farms, and I was like, fuck yeah. Because before that, I was like, I want to be a tree. Like, I want to be in one of those tree pods where they put me in there and then they put the tree in it and then I grow the tree, which is still my second choice. But the idea of being like on a body farm and like helping people just because like that's gonna help them solve future crimes and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm a super unique type. Like, for example, I woke up Wednesday during my dental work because um, anesthesia and um, like other numbing type things burn off quicker on me because I'm a redhead. So, like, do I decompose differently because I'm a redhead? Like, I don't know.
You're not
But I need.
that special.
Listen, you never know. You never know.
I'm just kidding. But that also brings the comment too. So like if that is the case and that is there's like science behind that, for people who have some red in their hair, does
Yeah,
that change matters for those?
I don't
So
know.
like red's not the dominant color, but there is like a tint to it. So there is some red definition in your hair kind of thing. There is some redhead characteristics in your body of some sort. Does that
Yeah.
change for them?
No, that's interesting. Like,
The
how do
world
your
may never know.
chromosomes work and all of that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna donate myself to a body farm so we can find out.
Bitch, I'm gonna find out. I'll be fucking dead. I'll be like, all right,
Right?
peace.
I'm not
I'll
gonna
be in the
find. Well,
afterlife.
I mean, we. Who knows? We might have a quick turnaround again. I might be reincarnated quickly again, and I might be doing the research on my own fucking body. Just kidding. I'll
That's
be a
true.
baby, but
They could freeze you.
yeah. I mean, they could. Who knows? We'll figure it out. Anyway, Section 7. That's the end of Witches on Television. Section 7 is Witches in Love. The first one is Teen Witch, which is a movie. I've never seen it. But it's about a girl and her obsession with her high school love interest. Um, and like obsession is definitely the correct term. She, yeah, just yes. And then it says that it does mention that adults should remember that crushes, no matter the type, are felt intensely as a teenager because as a teenager you have so many hormones and like just crazy mad shit happening in your body and in your brain that like and this makes so much sense to me because I remember when my cousins and like my parents and aunts and uncles would tease me about my crushes as a teenager, how upset I would get.
Yeah.
So it's like it's best not to make fun of or take like teenage crushes too lightly. Because I've even said it to like high school students before. I've been like, oh, you're in high school, you won't be with that person forever, or whatever. Like, but that's not how they feel about it. So like, you just gotta, I don't know, chill out, I
You never
guess.
know.
Um, apparently in this movie, the main girl, her name is Robin, and there's a part where she's dreaming, and in her dream, she falls and like jolts awake. Like we've all had that happen before, right? Like, um, and there are apparently multiple theories as to why this happens. Um, one of them is an evolutionary, um, or has an evolutionary basis because, um, like the theory of evolution is that we evolved from primates, right? So like they may have had like a intuition or some type of subconscious thing that would wake them up so they could readjust so they didn't fall out of the tree. Um, Other theories, the ones that are more commonly subscribed to, are things like using stimulants like caffeine or exercising too close to bedtime, or, and this is the one, anxiety and stress. It's the cause of everything.
It really is, though.
But basically, in this movie, um, the girl um, changes into a better outfit, and then she feels more confident and gets more popular, and like the the basic like 80s teen movie bullshit. Um, and she comes into her powers, her witch powers on her 16th birthday, and basically casts a spell on her whole school, and it's just a hot mess. Um, all because she's obsessed with this boy, which is, wild. But the next one is called The Love Witch, which I've never heard of this one. It's also a movie. It was made in 2016, um, which follows a witch named Elaine on a quest to find her Prince Charming. Um, and one critic apparently said that the main character is a serial killer who thinks of herself as the star of a rom-com. So she's basically trying to find her Prince Charming and like killing people. I didn't really mark much in this chapter because there wasn't much that really seemed to apply to our purposes or that was super super interesting. But they did mention, like, can people be addicted to love, which I think is
I think so.
interesting. Yeah, I feel like at the very least you can be addicted to like attention, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and like make it love. I don't know. But they described a love addict as a person who needs for more love, more succor, more support, grow as rapidly as the frustrated people around her try to fill up what is in effect a terrible and unsatisfiable inner emptiness. So they're kind of calling it a like a mental disorder, um like gambling addicts, or
Yeah.
yeah. Um Everyone tells her to take a break after a breakup, and she's like, nope, and she casts a spell to find a new love, and like it's just like a whole thing. And then they talk about aphrodisiacs, which I feel like we've kind of talked about before. Um in lieu of love spells, they use aphrodisiacs. Anyway, the last one in this book is Penny Dreadful, which was a TV series that I have also not seen. I've heard of, but not seen.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like, have you seen it?
I've
Okay.
heard it, but
I believe it's like books. Like it's like retelling stories like Dracula and like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and um Jack the Ripper. I know Jack the Ripper's not a book, that was a real person, but like
yeah.
um
Hey, keep talking. I will be right back.
okay.
I have to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
I have to pee really bad.
um
Hold on.
But it sounds really interesting. Um, so like all of these main, like kind of like in A Discovery of Witches, all these like famous characters, or in some cases real people, like Sherlock or like Jack the Ripper, Sherlock Holmes, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, The Picture of Dorian Gray, Dracula, Frankenstein. They're all in this show, and it's all about the horror of people, not of creatures. So like they talk about how horrible and terrible people can be to each other. Um, and eventually the main character in this story is institutionalized. Um, and like they say demoralized through many practices, like getting sprayed with a hose, having her hair trimmed down to a buzz cut, and getting shock therapy. Tortured is the word they're looking for there. Um, but a lot of the times, and this is one of the big things in this, or themes in this whole thing of the science of witchcraft, honestly, is that historically women have been diagnosed with hysteria or called a witch or something when they're acting out of the norm. So if they're not acting the way that society expects them to act or wants them to act, then they're either institutionalized or burned at the stake or whatever. And a lot of the times they were institutionalized for disorders that actually like medically are not even real. So, but all the psychiatrists at the time were men, so they were like, "Hey, this is what we're doing," and um, husbands or fathers could hire these psychiatrists with quotes, to investigate their wives or daughters' abnormal behaviors, and then they would get committed to asylums for it, this literally says for reasons ranging from masturbation to being overly educated. One woman, what Elizabeth Packard, was locked up for disagreeing with her husband's extreme religious beliefs. And after her release, she founded the Anti Insane Asylum Society and campaigned for divorced women to retain custody of their children. So there's like um, lots of different instances in real life where this has happened. And then it's also, you know, a big um, genre of like horror films and books as well. It's actually one of my favorite tropes is when people go into an asylum, like as an event, because there was an investigative reporter in like the 20s or something who went into an asylum to investigate the atrocities that were being committed there, and then like they wouldn't let her out. She eventually did get out because she had prepared before she went in for like that to happen. But there have been many books, fiction books, written since then about that same trope, like of going in for investigative purposes or whatever, and then not being allowed to leave. Um, I actually read one more recently where a woman went in working as a nurse, and they kind of like staged mental breakdowns for her and made her a patient and wouldn't allow her to leave. It's wild stuff happened. Um, but yeah, so that is the Penny Dreadful. There's witches. It actually sounds super interesting. They use mirror magic and they use mirrors to transport themselves in and out of places. Um, just lots of different, um, you know, like witch lore and things like that, and a lot of different characters. For example, there's a part where Vanessa, the main character, and Frankenstein's monster talk of being in love and how to act when they're in love. They recite poetry and practice dancing together, and do all these different things. So like, it's just really cool how they mix in um, these famous characters that we already know into a new story. Um, yeah, and then Vanessa continues to go through these different things. Apparently, the series did end at the end of, I believe, season 3 on a sad note. No spoilers, but fans were feeling frustrated and disappointed. Um, So just if you decide to go watch it, be aware that lots of fans were frustrated and disappointed at the end. However, LGBT plug, series creator John Logan said, growing up as a gay man before it was socially acceptable as it is now, I knew what it was to feel different, to feel alienated, to feel not like everyone else, but the very same thing that may be monstrous to some people also empowered me and made me who I was. Um, Whether it was through the empathy building scenes of Frankenstein's monster at the theater, Vanessa finding love and companionship for a brief time, or discovering the brilliant and beautiful backstories of other characters, Penny Dreadful will live on in my memory as one of my favorites. So, yeah,
Cool.
that's Penny Dreadful. Super interesting. And that is the end of the Science of Witchcraft. We finished it.
Yay.
So, yay. But if anybody is listening, let me know what your plans are. Whether you want to be extremely embalmed and posed on your motorcycle, or what
I'll
your
have to tell
choice
Will
is.
about that.
I need to know.
You're like, well, if you could, if you could be embalmed any way you want, would it be laying at the beach? Would it be laying in bed?
Right?
What would it be? Oh man, that's hilarious.
Oh my goodness.
Good times. Anyways,
Yeah, so that's
yeah,
that. And I believe next week is back to A Court of Silver Flames.
yeah. Which I'm already
Yeah.
halfway through.
Well, I'm not, so.
I had a 6-hour drive, so I just read.
Oh, there you go. That's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah. But
All right.
anyways. Cool. Until next time.
Bye.